In Fnatic vs Evil Geniuses in the first day, we saw a very interesting drafts. We saw a lot of how the meta would play out in this tournament, and also a last pick DK and Venge that I really didn't expect. So let's break down this game and really figure out how these teams optimize their draft and play their heroes.
This pro guide you're about to see is one of hundreds, just like it, over at gameleap.com. GameLeap is your #1 stop to become a specialist in your desired role fast. Check us out today with the discount link in the description below to unlock your hidden potential, but for now, let's hop into the video.
So the first thing I want to talk about briefly is Ogre Magi. So in this game in particular, we're going to be seeing a position 3 Ogre Magi from S4, laning with crit. Now why is this lane strong? So first off, he takes Bloodlust at level 1, which gives his lane the ability to have insane amounts of attack speed. And not only that, it gives him movement speed, plus he has an Orb of Venom. Right, this build is not too traditional, but what we will see is it is near impossible to treat with this Rubik Ogre lane. Rubik is going to completely destroy the Jug's right-click damage, reducing it by 20. It is impossible to trade with Rubik Ogre. There are like no heroes that can do it. It really doesn't exist. So he goes an extremely aggressive build on the Ogre. You notice he's just punching the Jug. Instead of worrying about any CS, just punching him. And this Orb of Venom completely allows him to amplify that in addition with the Bloodlust. So I actually really like this lane in general, and this item build that kind of synergizes with the lane. The next hero I want to talk about is Venge. So EG actually last picked the Venge this game, and I understand the idea behind it. They have quite a bit of right-click damage. They have Bloodlust from the Ogre, they have a Lifestealer, and now they have a Vengeful Spirit. Plus the swap can be good against the DK Blink, Omni Slash, RP. It really does provide some value there. However, the one thing I don't like it for is the ability to, deal with this Magnus or even pressure him whatsoever. It just doesn't help with that. And I think it's okay. There's not a lot of 5s that necessarily would be able to do it alone. You'd have to pick something like an Undying, which might not be so great for the draft. So I understand the pick, but I'm not sold on this hero. I really don't know. The next trend I want to talk about is one that's very, very popular throughout this TI, and it's something I've even seen a bit on Twitter, and that is strictly that Ring of Bassi is one of the better laning stage items. It makes your lane super strong. The ability to give everyone 2 armor in a 1200 radius, including creeps, makes your ability to trade extremely effective. And on a hero like Rubik, not only are their creeps going to have reduced damage, your creeps are going to have increased armor. It really makes this lane near impossible for Jabs to play. In fact, Jabs does a fantastic job in getting last hits and how hard of a lane this could be. So props to him. The next thing I want to mention is an interesting adaptation. So I honestly thought Ember was fairly decent against DK. I knew DK could sustain the lane. However, what's interesting about this lane is the DK puts his second point in the Dragon Blood, which is standard, but then at level 4, if we skip ahead a bit, he actually takes his Dragon Tail and uses Dragon Tail occasionally throughout the lane to just get a deny. You notice he stuns the Ember and gets the deny. And you can see this is the priority these players put on last hitting a deny. He's willing to spend 100 mana. He does have a CM, but he's willing to spend 100 mana to pressure 1 deny, to get 1 deny. That is it. And now he does it again. Like literally, that's it. He's just using Dragon Tail for CS, and if you're not playing for CS at this point in Dota, after watching my videos, come on, start playing for last hits and denies. It's like all of the laning stage. I want to make this very important notion that CM does a great job of dragging waves for the Mag here, so we're going to skip forward a bit. And you notice that Magnus CM can do fine against Lifestealer Venge. It's really not that bad. It's not. However, Dubu does a very great job of dragging the Creepwave in between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower, which allows them to, get denies and pressure the wave very heavily. So you notice pressuring under tower, the Magnus drags the first wave, right? So this is a good thing to do with your friends. You have the offlaner drag the first wave, which is here, and you'll see that allows him to get, some denies. Fly does a good job on the Venge contesting. But then the CM drags the next wave all the way around, and RTC tries to contest it because he's like, my wave, it's getting dragged. And you notice now Dubu is looking at the clock and he wants to meet this wave with his wave. So he's going to have to bring it around a bit and just kind of like run in circles. But this creates a situation where Magnus is going to be able to 1v1 the Lifestealer, which is great considering, you're going to get all the CS considering you're a Quelling Blade and Power Magnus. It's pretty easy. And now Dubu is going to drag this under tower and secure his level 2 because no creeps will get denied by the Lifestealer. Right, so it's just a nice way to kind of divide lanes, especially a hard lane. If you think it's even relatively difficult, let's say you're like a Mars against a Jug, just drag the wave or have your support do it, and that's a great way to just open up the game in the laning stage to be a lot easier. Now, in terms of the EG side of this lane, I want to talk about a few things. So first off, what we'll notice is that RTZ rushes a chainmail, and this does two things. It allows them to trade extremely effectively with the Magnus, which is important because you can do this on a lot of safe lane heroes that buy phase boots, really like the majority of them. And you notice like now, if Dubu even wants to consider hitting him, he can tank the Creepwave, with less of a problem. It's not free, but less of a problem. And even makes this drag play here, where he brings the Creepwave all the way around. Now, this is actually a complete mess, but I think the chainmail really helped him not take too much damage from all of this. So the next idea I want to talk about is giving your supports mid. Now, Sumail is maxing out his Flame Guard, which is particularly good against, Dragonite. It's not going to give him the ability to kill, but what I will say is it gives him the ability to jungle. So you notice Sumail is going to communicate here to Crit, or, vice versa. Obviously, I don't know, that he can take mid and that Sumail will just jungle, right? And that's exactly what they do. Why is this important? Because they pick Rubik, and Rubik is strictly a hero that loves getting level 6, right? This level 6 spike is great this game. He can steal Empower, he can steal Crystal Nova, anything from Willow, anything from DK, which is, really good if he can get the Dragon's Breath, and specifically Jug Spin is a super high damage spell. So this level 6 on crit is going to be massive, right? It's simply super strong, and not only that, Rubik is one of the best lane defenders in Dota, so it just makes it even easier, considering they have the correct hero to do it. And now if you notice, just by giving him mid for that small portion, DJ is level 3 1/4, Dubu is level, 3 3/4, so it's not that close, right? And that's the benefit of this, right? And not only that, Fnatic's going to try to siege down mid, but now at least you have Crit in position to stall it up a bit. It's not too effective. They are making a great use of this car wave, which is something you also should be doing, and something I want to talk about from Fnatic's side. In fact, what's even more interesting, he puts so much of a priority on this cart wave that he puts a 3rd point in Dragon's Blood. I'm really not a fan of this usually, because it really limits your ability to push waves and farm. But he just really wants to, be able to tank the tower for his cart and even take the creep wave. So that's what he does. And EG comes in now, but it's a bit too late. So the cart's actually going to finish up this tower, and mission accomplished. They get the mid tier 1 tower. DGA TP's out on the Willow, and now they force 3 or 4 heroes mid. Yeah, 4 heroes mid. So I think that was huge from Fnatic. Just that quick siege is a great thing to do if you're a hero like Pugna or BK, where you match up with the cart wave and you force TPs. Especially if you're a support player and you have one of these type of heroes, come over and help them out. And the last thing I want to mention about taking towers is getting the tower denied is actually such a big deal, considering denies 100% of the gold now. So you have to be very careful about under committing to towers. That's why they heavy commit, and I think it's why he's so willing to put this point in Dragon Blood and just really commit to this tower, because if he gets denied, they lose a ton of net worth, and they're not ahead as is, right? That's going to help them stay at least even. And even with an Empower is totally good enough to win the game, right? When you're playing with Empower in the early game, if you can stay even into the mid game, you're fine. And now, the next thing is, what does Abed do after taking the mid tower? And that's simply, he uses his next Dragon Blood to get the top tier 1. So they're kind of bouncing from lane to lane, and this is something very common to see from a DK, where you use your ability to be one of the strongest heroes in Dota right now. He has 2 bracers, treads, and a wand to just take the outer towers. The next thing I want to note is, where in the world does Fnatic put their Magnus and their Juggernaut in order to maximize efficiency? Because if you pick Mag Jug or you've played it, you probably understand that sometimes it can be very hard to manage the Empower, right? Keep it going. But you notice that Ice on the Magnus and Jabs on the Jug are constantly playing in the same lane. And, they're not denying each other farm, but they need to stay in the general vicinity of each other in order to keep the Empower on the Jug. It's just that simple, right? And it might seem like, why would you even see that Speed? That's obvious. But really, it's something that might seem obvious, but people don't apply as often as you would think. So take it into consideration and try to play the off lane, or, whatever is the safe farm, with your Magnus and your hard carry. So I want to watch this game currently from RTZ's perspective and talk about why they picked Lifestealer and why they favor this hero. And it's simply due to the fact that they can run a carry, because typically you can't do this with most carry heroes, but they can run a carry hero that's going to scale for them alone, right? And what does this do? It allows the Venge to farm mid, it allows the Ogre to play bottom, and for whatever reason, it allows them to get this kill on Jabs, which is a bit bizarre, but the benefit of Lifestealer as a hero is picking it in games where you can play the side lanes, Now you could be like, well, they have RP to cancel a potential TP, but that's not the point, right? Like, he's going to see them coming. They don't really necessarily have the burst damage to do that. He's still going to be able to rage during the RP to prevent, like, ample follow-up. So the point stays strong, where it allows them to play different lanes while their carry can just play alone. And this is obviously super strong for just opening up the map. The only problem with this strategy is that the enemy team is running a Magnus, so it's not necessarily making them fall behind, and I think EG is definitely a team that likes to play 3 lanes and favors keeping their net worth up as a result, which is, you know, proving to work right now. If we look at the net worths, they have, you know, 3 of their cores towards the top. But once again, against Magnus Jug, I have some concerns that eventually, you know, the Ancients will start to play a big part in the game and allow them to snowball ahead, because EG cannot take Ancients, and Fnatic can easily take Ancient stacks, which will eventually swing net worth, and is exactly what is happening here. Jabs on the Jug, if we go back a little, has been taking Ancient stacks, and this is snowballing the game. In fact, they even have 2 cores doing it, and if you look at the XP, it's just going to explode. Gets quite a bit of levels on him, and a lot on the DK as well, so, and the net worth just evens out, right? It's just huge, and that's something that they have access to that EG does not. Now, I want to talk about Ogre for a bit. So this is one of the most popular heroes at the tournament as a 5 and a 3 for a couple reasons, and it's because of this build. You know, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is this build. So you max out your Fire Blast, which does a ton of damage with your multicast, obviously. But the other half is that you put all your points into Bloodlust, and this just gives you the ability to have insane amounts of attack speed, right? It's 90 bonus attack speed for yourself and 14 bonus movement speed, and with the Phase Boots and Orb of Venom, as well as Soul Ring, you can chase people down, cast infinite spells, and just play the dead lane for the entire game. And not only that, once you get Midas, you just farm, right? It doesn't actually win them this game. In fact, EG loses this game, but most games we've been seeing these just giga farmed ogres, and it takes very little space, right? With this Midas, you can farm like basically according to your Midas cooldown, and you're gonna get items without taking any space. Now, going back to talk about Magnus, what items does he go this game? And I actually just want to forward ahead a bit, and we'll continue to talk about it. But if we forward ahead, you notice that for the Magnus, he actually has a Vlad's, a Hood of Defiance, and a Medallion, and this Medallion is going to go into a Solar Crest. So his sole job is to stay alive, threaten RP, and buff his cores. And what I mean by threaten RP is, if we see a fight break out, which we will look at a bit later on, you're going to notice that all he has to do is RP one hero and allow the Jug or the Dragonite to just rip into them. He just has to threaten it, because if the Lifestealer wants to go in, he can't man up on the Jug if he's stunned during Rage, right? He's going to get his Rage burned by the super long RP. It's 3.25 seconds at level 2. So just being tanky prevents EG from having a clear burst target. Because if this is like a Blink Yule's Magnus, or, you know, one of those Blink mechs make you tanky, but you're going to have Arcane Boots and not be nearly as thick. Now, I feel like this was the first questionable play by EG in the game. Sumail wants to pressure the Ancient camps. I think EG realized that Fnatic was staying in the game and wanted to drag this game out strictly through playing this tri-camp. So EG decides to just run right up. But Willow is now super good against Ember, right? In the past, Willow did not threaten Ember whatsoever. But after the changes, DJ is able to pick up this, like, crazy timing Yules. I think he got it at, like, 15-30. And now Willow threatens heavily, and I mean heavily, on Ember Spirit, because Ember Spirit can no longer slide a fist out of roots. And if you understand what that means, basically, Dark Willow can Yules up the Ember Spirit, throw down the root, and guarantee control on him. And that's exactly what happens, right? Gets the Yules, Sumail lands in it, super amazing fear on the back lines. Absolutely fantastic. In fact, I felt like DJ was one of the key reasons why they were able to win these fights. Like, unbelievable fear completely prevents the swap out for Sumail and allows them to get the kill, right? Really good follow-up stuns as well. Follow-up stun from Dubu and Abed onto Sumail, and that secures them this kill. But really, that was all DJ with the setup route on the Ember, and then the follow-up terrorize on the backline. Absolute, like, madman. And I want to show how he kind of predicts this. So, if you're looking at the fight breaking out, it's a quick smoke play. They make this really good read. He throws out the root, and he didn't even see Fly when he queued that up. He didn't even see him. My man's just guessed. But why could he guess that? I mean, he saw them previously, but he knows Sumail's here, and his team's gonna have to back him up, right? If they want to save him, the only way he lives is if they're here and he gets a swap out. That's it. So he straight up guesses. You know, okay, not straight up. It wasn't a guess. He educated guesses. And it's a fantastic guess. Now at this point, Fnatic's going to threaten Roche, which is definitely the correct play because EG has a man dead, and they still have RP, and Abed finds the Vengeful Spirit, And you notice this is the benefit of this Ice 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 Magnus, right? Like, he can just threaten RP, and even if RTC is raged, he just can't be there. Like, I mean, as is, it's a bad fight, right? But this is kind of the general picture. In fact, he just solo RPs the Ogre, which sort of gives RTC a way into the fight. So I didn't love that RP too much, but hopefully you see the point. He can just kind of run in, and because he's super tanky, RTC has to be like, oh, don't RP me, don't RP me. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about before we just go into one last fight, right? We're gonna shorten up the video here, but this is a play that I think is extremely high skill and is very underutilized. In fact, it's probably something you haven't even heard of before, and it's fake backing based on Creepwave vision. So when you're farming a Creepwave, if you look at the enemy team's vision, let's look at this Willow for instance, they can see RTZ, correct? So if they see him on the map, they can be like, okay, he's farming the wave. When he farms the wave, he does this little back thing, so it gives people the feeling that you're backing, right? He does it again. Look, did you see his thing on the minimap? Now they can think he's backing. In fact, I think he went forward a little bit too early because I actually probably saw him. But the idea behind that is you're playing around the vision that the creeps actually give. So I just want to show it one more time. So he's farming this wave, and the idea here is that you're kind of playing in the vision to give people the false implication that you're going to back. So you see that little bubble of vision? That lingers there. It's like creep linger vision. So what he does is backs, and in fact, he goes forward a little bit too early, so the creep linger actually still sees him. But the idea there is that you're going to back to kind of give people the impression that you are not actually going there, right? Because they kind of get the idea by him showing that they're coming and committing. So overall, I just want to show you that concept. It's not necessarily the best example to show exactly what it can do, especially when split pushing. But the idea is that you want to use that creep linger vision to give the people the false implication that you're either continuing. You can even use it to say, okay, I'm going to this next wave and then back, or I'm backing and then you go to the next wave. Okay, here I want to make a quick point about why DJ is able to get items this game, because at the 20-minute mark, he has 47 CS, is 3-0, and is at 6k net worth, right, which is fantastic. And there's a couple of reasons. He doesn't buy a lot of small items, which allows him to have these bigger items, the high-impact items such as Heals and Blink, but he's also just farming a creep wave. His whole team is mid, and he's just straight up farming, right? And this is important. It just allows him to keep up his farm, and then with this Blink Dagger, he can shift over to the fight, right? They're winning the fight anyway, and this is like the best RP I've seen of all time. Alright, not the best, but like this is beautiful. Like, whew, look at this. Who sees this? This angle. Oh, so good. Allows up for the follow-up, super good Omni Slash, and they clean up the boys. Once again, I just want to show why Dark Willow actually counters Ember now. I think it's clear at this point, but he uses him up, throws down the root, and he's like, oh, I can't slide anymore. And look, their team is taking Roche, like right after this fight. What does DJ do? They take Roche. Where's my boy? He's using his Willow, his Bedlam, to shove top, right? Shoves top, gets some farm. He's like, oh, okay, they're not taking a fight. What is he doing? Farming top. Okay, if you never consider farming as a support, you're playing wrong. You're wrong. Farming another wave. Before I give up this point, he's farming. And at this point in the game, it's just super hard for EG to actually take a fight, right? They try to, but the enemy team is super, super tanky, and once again, he does the same thing to Sumail, right? Like, he's literally making Sumail so mad. Do you understand? Sumail is probably smashing his key. Literally, his keyboard is probably broken at this point. I'm almost sure of it. It's definitely missing keys. Like, look at this. Heals them up, puts down a fantastic root that allows for the follow-up root as well, and then follows up with the crit. Just so good. So good. And I think this is why Willow has some of the highest potential, and is one of those heroes where if you can learn it, you can carry solo queue games. Because he genuinely solo killed the Ember that fight. Like, he did not get help. Not at all. And the last thing I want to talk about is Jab's item build. I don't want to say too much more about this game. I think we've learned, and hopefully you learned a lot so far. Definitely leave a comment down below if you have, but if we look at this item build, it's optimized to trade and just kind of be that frontliner that runs in. You notice that Fnatic has a lot of heroes that want to play the back and find their targets. Willow wants to find the Ember, Magnus wants to probably RP the Lifestealer or, hit multiple heroes, and then DK can blink stun whoever he feels necessary. Right, so this build, it gives him some status resistance and the great ability to just straight up man up on the Lifestealer, right? And which is, absolutely fantastic. And I think the itemization was generally clean. Do I think it was a bad game for Menta? No, it looks like a good Menta game. But this build is pretty good for many. I don't know if it's the best, honestly. I don't have that much experience on carry in these different item builds, and this is certainly unpopular, but by all means, it worked this game, for sure. And now I want to show why itemization is so important. So, a couple things. We look at the Solar Crest on the Magnus, we see a Vlad's as well, and now you'll see the pure damage that this Jug gets from having a Solar Crest buff on him. Right, so the Solar Crest is applied, Jug spins, insta shreds this range Rax, and it's important to note he sieges the range Rax. If you can only quickly take one Rax, and you have to deal with split pressure or split pushing, take the range Rax. It pushes the lane. It will still push the lane. And you just insta-kill compared to the melee. It's not even close, right? I think the melee takes like close to 3 times as long to kill. So really consider that. It's okay to take range Rax from time to time if you feel like that's the quick siege and you want to continue to get out on the map. Right now they're just completely running at RTZ and making his ability to farm very hard. Now, the last thing I want to do is talk about Jab's Omni Slash usage. This is going to be the last point of the game. But you notice, very clear targeting of the supports, right? He simply understands that if he kills the backline, this Lifestealer can do nothing. So not only this, they make a great play in the backlines, which we'll go back to, but there's no save, right? So we see Samel go in, he actually makes a mistake and kind of goes in, he gets Dragon Tilled, but then absolutely fantastic RP, Magnus completely countering out this Lifestealer, there's nothing he can do. But then, where's the support, right? Dubu controlling up the veg, preventing the swap out, and then Jabs preventing crit, and S4 from helping their cores, right? Completely zones them out. So it's great for Jabs to man up on the Lifestealer, but you have to understand if he mans up on the Lifestealer, he's going to get Fade Bolted, Lifted, Ogre Stunned, there's going to be a swap, so killing the supports kind of enables him to actually, kill the other heroes as well. And now the game's over, right? DD on Jug, and they're going to just run it down. Hopefully you guys learned a lot from this game. I know I certainly did. A lot of cool interesting points about split pushing, going high ground, some different item builds, and skill builds. So yeah, if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.
Are you tired of being hard stuck at your rank? Over at gameleap.com, we have a library of hundreds of guides authored by pro players and coaches covering literally every aspect of Dota. Whether you're looking to master a new hero or role, or just polish up your existing skills, GameLeap is the proven place for competitive gamers to hone their craft and unlock their secret potential. Hit the link on screen right now, to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount, guys, 25%, and start your journey today.